The global economy depends heavily on a small number of strategic geographic choke points that enable the flow of energy, trade, and resources between continents. Among the most critical of these choke points is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow waterway connecting the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and ultimately the world's oceans. Despite its relatively small size, the Strait of Hormuz plays an outsized role in global economic stability because it serves as the primary shipping route for a significant percentage of the world's oil and natural gas exports. Every day, massive oil tankers carrying millions of barrels of crude oil travel through this narrow corridor from energy-rich Gulf countries to markets in Asia, Europe, and North America. Because of this, any disruption to shipping in the Strait of Hormuz could rapidly ripple across global financial systems, energy markets, and supply chains. In an increasingly interconnected global economy, the consequences of instability in this region could potentially trigger a severe economic crisis affecting nations far beyond the Middle East. Today, we will talk about how the Strait of Hormuz could trigger a global economic crisis. So, before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. The strategic importance of the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most strategically important waterways in the world. At its narrowest point, the strait is only about 33 kilometers, 21 miles, wide. Yet it serves as the main export route for oil produced in several major energy-producing nations, including Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates. Estimates from global energy agencies suggest that roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz each day. In addition to crude oil, the route is also vital for the transport of liquefied natural gas, LNG, particularly from Qatar, which is one of the largest LNG exporters in the world. Because such a large share of global energy trade relies on this narrow passage, even temporary disruptions, such as military confrontations, naval blockades, or attacks on shipping vessels, could cause immediate spikes in global energy prices. Historical tensions in the strait. The Strait of Hormuz has been a focal point of geopolitical tensions for decades. During the Iran-Iraq War, both sides targeted oil tankers in what became known as the Tanker War. These attacks threatened international shipping and drew global powers into the conflict to protect vital energy routes. Since then, tensions involving Iran and Western powers have repeatedly raised concerns about the security of the strait. Iran has occasionally warned that it could close the waterway if its economy or national security were threatened by international sanctions or military action. Naval confrontations, drone incidents, and tanker seizures in recent years have periodically heightened fears that the Strait of Hormuz could become the center of a broader military confrontation. Iran's geographic advantage. One of the reasons the Strait of Hormuz is so strategically sensitive is Iran's geographic position. Iran controls much of the northern coastline along the strait, giving it significant influence over maritime activity in the area. Iran's military strategy includes the use of naval forces, missile systems, and fast attack boats designed to operate in the narrow waters of the strait. The country has also invested in sea mines and anti-ship missiles that could potentially disrupt shipping lanes. While closing the strait entirely would be extremely difficult due to international military presence, even limited disruptions could cause enough uncertainty to shock global markets and disrupt trade. The role of the United States Navy. To protect international shipping and maintain freedom of navigation, the United States Navy maintains a significant presence in the region. The U.S. Fifth Fleet, headquartered in Manama, regularly patrols the Persian Gulf and surrounding waters. These patrols are intended to deter attacks on commercial vessels and reassure international shipping companies that the route remains secure. The United States also conducts joint naval exercises with regional allies to strengthen maritime security. However, the presence of military forces also increases the risk of accidental confrontations. Even a small incident involving naval vessels could escalate into a larger conflict with global implications. Impact on global oil prices. Energy markets are highly sensitive to geopolitical risks, especially in regions responsible for major oil production. If the Strait of Hormuz were disrupted, oil prices could surge dramatically within hours. Even rumors of instability in the region have historically caused spikes in oil prices. A full-scale disruption could push prices to levels not seen in decades, potentially triggering inflation, higher transportation costs, and economic slowdowns across multiple continents. Countries heavily dependent on imported energy, particularly in Asia and Europe, would be especially vulnerable to such price shocks. Ripple effects on global trade. A disruption in the Strait of Hormuz would not only affect energy markets, but also global trade more broadly. Higher fuel costs would increase shipping expenses, raising the price of goods transported across oceans. Industries that rely heavily on global supply chains, such as manufacturing, electronics, and automotive production, could face rising production costs and delays. These disruptions would likely contribute to inflation and reduce economic growth worldwide. Financial markets could also react negatively, with investors responding to uncertainty by moving assets into safer investments, such as gold or government bonds. Strategic responses by energy importers. Recognizing the vulnerability of the Strait of Hormuz, many countries have attempted to reduce their dependence on this single route. Some Gulf states have built pipelines that bypass the strait, allowing oil to be exported through alternative ports. For example, the Abu Dhabi crude oil pipeline allows oil from the United Arab Emirates to be transported directly to the Gulf of Oman, avoiding the strait entirely. Similarly, Saudi Arabia has pipelines that transport oil from the Persian Gulf to ports on the Red Sea. However, these alternatives cannot fully replace the enormous volume of energy exports that normally pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Global strategic competition. The importance of the Strait of Hormuz also makes it a key arena in global power competition. Major powers such as the United States, China, and Russia all have strategic interests in maintaining stability in this region. China, in particular, depends heavily on Middle Eastern oil imports to fuel its economy. As a result, any disruption in the strait could have significant consequences for China's energy security. This shared dependence means that a crisis in the Strait of Hormuz would not only be a regional issue, but a truly global geopolitical challenge. The risk of escalation. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of tensions surrounding the Strait of Hormuz is the potential for escalation. A local incident involving ships, drones, or military forces could quickly spiral into a broader conflict involving multiple countries. Because the region already contains numerous rivalries and alliances, a confrontation in the strait could trigger responses from several global powers simultaneously. Such a scenario would not only threaten global energy supplies, but could also destabilize financial markets and international diplomacy. The Strait of Hormuz represents one of the most critical pressure points in the global economic system. Its narrow waters carry an enormous share of the world's energy supply, making it an indispensable artery for global trade and economic stability. While the strait has remained open despite decades of tension, the possibility of disruption remains a constant concern for governments, businesses, and financial markets around the world. A serious conflict in this region could trigger cascading effects across energy markets, supply chains, and international relations. Understanding the importance of this strategic choke point helps explain why global powers closely monitor developments in the Persian Gulf and why maintaining stability in the Strait of Hormuz remains a top priority for the international community. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe.